to the stakeholders and the media present. You're all welcome to our meeting, committee meeting. The summary of the incident so that the committee get the information from our Provincial Commissioner, not getting the information through the media. So I hope that will be done. Ma'am, MEC? Can I go straight to the PC, MEC?
Yes, please, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, MEC. Provincial Commissioner, over to you.
Uzwakala kahle.
Uyazwakala sis. Okay, thanks. Provincial Commissioner, over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, senior members of the SAPS, the deputies, all stakeholders who are here, members of the media, our MEC for community safety, ladies and gentlemen. Before I go to my presentation about the crime stats, indeed, Chairperson, I did receive a letter requesting that I need to brief the committee. All credit, it goes to our intelligence operators. Yes, they've been hard at work from last week monitoring this group. It's a very big group. They were estimating a group to be approximately 25. Every time when the group move around in our province, because they also do their reconnaissance before they can commit their crime. Maybe they were checking whether it will be conducive for them to commit crime. Our expectation was that they will commit crime sometimes last week, but they didn't. But our intelligence operative, they've continued to follow them through. And on that fateful day of Monday, an integrated group of tactical members of our law enforcement agencies, that is our highway patrol members, our JMPD members, also our highway traffic members, they decided that now they are going to deal with these people before they commit that crime of cash in transit heist. Because on that particular day, they were targeting one van. Allegedly, that van, it will be transporting a huge amount of money. So they went for it. When they approached those criminals, they realized that there is police all over. Some tried to get an escape. Some, they were also firing some shots to our helicopter, because on that particular day, we've put all the resources together to ensure that they support the ground forces. Then they started shooting at the helicopter, whereby one of our own, an Elio is an airborne law enforcement officer. This is the officer whom we deploy with the pilot. He's an operational member. He was shot on his chest, but God was good for us, because that bullet didn't touch any of his vital parts, vital organs. And our team, they confronted those criminals, whereby 8 of them were fatally wounded. And then we arrested 8. Later on, when we were sweeping the area, including those who hold a household hostage, we have managed to arrest 10 of those criminals. They've already appeared before court. It is postponed again for next week. I think it will be on the 3rd. In that safe house, we have managed to recover heavy caliber firearms there. It was 5 AK-47s, 1 R4 rifle, 2 GM4 rifles, and 15 rifle magazines, and 363 live ammunition. We have also recovered a jammer, which these guys are using to block all the communication systems around there. We recovered 5 commercial explosives, 3 electrical detonators, 9 small explosives, 4 large explosives, and 4 cords, which they are using to connect all these explosives. We further recovered 13 motor vehicles. Some were already hijacked some time ago. I think these were the vehicles which they were intending to use when they commit crime. And some of the vehicles which we also recovered are some of the vehicles which they took from people when they try to escape, hijacking whoever they get on the street. In total, it was 13 motor vehicles which were recovered in that particular space. Like I've said, that 4 of our own, they sustained some injuries. Warrant Officer Naika, it's an Elio, and is recuperating very well in hospital. Constable Lekwatsima also suffered some injuries on his hands and some scratch marks on his head. He's also recovering very well. We have an Officer Gates from JMPD. He's also doing very well in hospital, he's recovering. And Sergeant Mokhali, he was treated and discharged on the same day. So this incident, it happened at number 50, Friar Hill Road in Rosettenville. Our officers, they didn't sit back and enjoy or celebrate the success. They continued to work very hard to search for those suspects who have escaped. And what is pleasing is that on Wednesday, they've managed to follow another suspect. They were working around the clock looking for this one, went to Soweto, went to Tembisa, Pumulong, and so forth, until they've accosted that one. They went to his place. It's just a hiding place, because if you check there, it's not having all the furniture which shows that somebody is staying there. It clearly is an operational area for them. In that particular space, we managed to find 9 firearms, of which 4 were rifles again, and then 5 pistols. Lots and lots of ammunition again was recovered there. A 12-channel jammer was found there. What was disturbing, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, is that we have also found some pieces of police uniform. That is the bulletproof jacket, the reflectors, a cap, police cap. We've also found some stack of money there. And again, the team didn't rest there. They continue again, searching for the others. So early hours of this morning, I was informed that another one is arrested. What is disturbing again is that a police uniform was also found in his possession. In him, we found a gun, unlicensed gun, police and ammunition, police uniform. It's a combat clothes, like the one which I'm wearing, of junior members. But I'm so grateful with what our team is doing. They are not resting, and they are continue to search for the others. And we have made the message very clear to them that they have a choice to hand themselves over, or will come and fetch them. The net is gradually closing on them, wherever they are. So briefly, Chairperson, this is what happened. And the members, our minister also visited the crime scene. He congratulated the members on the scene. The Premier of Gauteng also invited the team. He also spoke to them and congratulated them. And they feel motivated. They want to continue and give their all so that they continue to search those who are still out there. Thanks, Chairperson. That is briefly about the success we have achieved.
Thanks for the brief, PC. We are not going to interrogate it now. We wanted just to get the information from you, not from the media. Then you can proceed, PC, to the presentation of the third quarter report in line with the 2021 financial year. Over to you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, members of the media, our MEC, ladies and gentlemen. The Minister of Police, General Bekele, released the national crime statistics for the third quarter of the year 2021-2022 financial year, exactly a week ago. Honorable members, today I will also give an overview and unpack Gauteng crime picture for the same period under review. Before getting into details, allow me to give a brief overview of our province, as some of these factors have a potential of influencing the levels of crime. Gauteng is a province with a population of over 15 million people. This is in accordance to the Statistics South Africa Mid-Year Population Estimate 2017 series. The same data used to compute the crime rates for the contact crimes in this report. The size of the province is in square kilometers, 18,390. Hence, it will remain the most crowded province, and yet it occupies the smallest land area out of all South Africa's provinces. We must also take into consideration that Gauteng will still be one of the provinces which is likely to experience the largest flow of migrants, both domestically and internationally. This is mainly due to the province's socio-economic strength, opportunities such as employment, studying, and quality of life that influences its attractiveness to the migrants. Although some will argue that scientifically there is no direct correlation between crime and the population, it is worth noting that overpopulation coupled with challenges concerning other socio-economic conditions such as unemployment, poverty, poor environmental design are amongst the other factors most affecting crime levels in the province. However, against all these odds, I'm pleased to say that we have managed to reduce most of the crime categories. Although the overall crime picture is not so grim, we still have concerns with other crime categories which seems to be on the rise. Honorable members, allow me at this point to give a synopsis of the crime picture for the period 1st October to the 31st December 2021. This is the busiest time in the year as everyone is in the festivity mood, which also allow free movements. This tends to create a more opportunity for criminals to target members of the public for their criminal gains. Coming to the 17 community reported serious crime. Gauteng police recorded crime statistics for the third quarter of the year 2021-2022, as reflected under the 17 community reported crime category, decreases by 3.1%. And this means that we have recorded a decrease of 3,463 counts, lower in comparison with the same period in 2020-2021. In our analysis, Honorable Chairperson, this was as a result of a drop in 2 of the 4 broad categories of crimes, namely contact crime, property-related crimes, while the other 2 crime categories, contact-related crimes and other serious crimes, recorded an increase during the period. It will then be understandable that Gauteng contributed 27.7% of the overall crime in the country for this quarter, of which it remained on the same average in the current financial year for the first and the second quarters. We have also observed over the years the contribution of our provincial top 40 priority stations reducing. These stations contributed 48.9% of the Gauteng total crime figure in respect of the 17 community reported crimes during the third quarter of 2021-2022, a number which we saw reducing from over 51% since 2018-2019 financial year. So there is a greater movement, especially in our priority stations, because when we started here, they were contributing over 50% of the crime situation in the province. Hence, we targeted those stations. And it clearly shows that if those 40 police stations reduces their crime, then the provincial crime picture also changes. Coming to the contract crime, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, although we have recorded a significant decrease of this category by 4.5%, which is translating to 2,181 counts, lower in comparison with the same period in 2020-2021. We are deeply worried about other serious crimes that fall under this category, such as murder, attempted murder, as well as robbery aggravating, as they all remain stubbornly high, especially robbery aggravating, Chairperson. It is of biggest concern for us because this is a crime of fear. This is what makes the people of Gauteng can not feel safe because of this robbery aggravating. Murder during this period under review, 243 more people were killed in Gauteng, which reflect an increase by 18.3%. This is the highest increase in the last 5 years. Gauteng is the second province with the highest number of cases of murder during the period under review, and it is mainly due to the size of the population. However, when we look at other provinces, murder rate, to ensure a fair comparison among them as expressed in the number of people killed per 100,000 of the population, Gauteng murder rate is at 10.3% per 100,000 population, which is lower than the other 3 provinces. Out of 1,570 of the people who were killed, 189 were women, while 37 of them were children. Furthermore, a total of 41 cases of murders registered during the same period were related to domestic violence, where majority of the victims were females, 23 of those, and 18 were males. Excuse me. For the sample of 1,280 cases, the top 3 contributors established of the general increase of murder were arguments and misunderstanding, not related to domestic, by 112 cases, followed by the robberies that will be house robberies, business robberies, and street robberies by 50 cases, and vigilantism have contributed 29 cases. In relation to murders at farms and small holding, we had 3 incidents where 2 of the victims were residents on the farm or small holding, and 1 was a farm worker. A total of 5 SAPS members were murdered during this time. In relation to the place of occurrence where these incidents happened, it was determined that the top 3 common places where these murders were likely to take place are public places like on the street, open field, parking areas, abandoned buildings, which contributed a total of 564 offenses. 309 murders occurred at the residence of the victim, of the perpetrator, and 70 happened at liquor outlets. Among many other factors that contributed to murder increases in Gauteng is this phenomenon of multiple murders. This is where there is more than one victim murdered in one incident. Gauteng had 18 dockets of murder registered with 50 victims. That has contributed to more accumulated counts of murder during this quarter. Examples of the incident of multiple murder that occurred during the quarter under review happened in Kagiso, Lodium, and Atteridgeville. In Kagiso, 7 people were killed and 5 injured by a group of armed balaclava-clad men. This incident happened at a house close to where there was a wedding. Consequently, people who also attended the wedding were also affected. In Lodium, investigation revealed that a vehicle stopped near an illegal shebeen. The occupants then randomly shot at the patrons of this. The motives for this shooting are still under investigation, but the investigation revealed to us that, these people they just shot at the patrons and resulted in the murder of these people, and where 12 other people were injured. So it's something which is happening in Gauteng, and we are looking into it. One individual will go and find happy people sitting, enjoying themselves, he just shoot at them. And that is one of the reasons which is making the murders in Gauteng can go out. It's not to say that it's separate incidents happening all over. Coming to assault, one of the biggest concerns for all of us, Chairperson and honorable members, both assaults with the intent to inflict grievous bodily harm and common assault contributed over 51% of overall contact crime in Gauteng. These two crimes alone recorded 23,917 counts out of 46,221 total counts of the contact crime category. So when you observe here the contact crime, half of it is when people they are beating each other up. So if those people they can refrain doing that, obviously the contact crimes in Gauteng will come down. This is a clear indication of the negative social behavior of resulting to resolving dispute with violence. Circumstances in most cases lead to a violent reaction by the perpetrators. The most prominent motive or causative factors leading to these two crimes are arguments, misunderstandings resulting from social behaviors. These two crimes are also leading contributors towards our domestic-related cases. Of all cases that were registered of assault with intent to inflict grievous bodily harm, 1,938 counts were as a result of domestic violence, and common assault accounted to a total of 5,021 counts related to domestic violence. Coming to sexual offenses, Honorable Chairperson and members, we have also observed a significant reduction in all 3 offenses: rape, sexual offenses, sexual assaults, contact sexual offenses, reported under umbrella sexual offenses by 7.4%, which translates to 243 counts, lower in comparison with the same period in 2020-2021. This reduction is attributed to all the measures that we have put in place, such as enhancing partnership with communities and NGOs, awareness campaigns, suspect tracing operations, coupled with good convictions by our courts. These successes are being communicated through all available channels of the media to serve as a deterrent to those that have intention to commit rape. You will notice, Honorable Chairperson and members, during the presentation that Temba Police Station has moved from the 1st to the 6th position on the top 30 sexual offenses contributing stations in the country. To achieve this difference, we have, during this period, concentrated our efforts at the problematic station. We also have to recognize and commend our MEC of Community Safety, Ms. Faith Mazibuko, for her intervention in Temba. Her initiative and effort to reach out to the communities in that area has made a positive impact. The MEC was on the ground with the GBVF brigades, interacting with the community through awareness campaigns. The MEC also donated 23 vehicles to be utilized by the Family Violence, Child Protection and Sexual Offences Units, and 11 more vehicles that have been allocated to victim empowerment centers, as well as patrol vehicles for SAPS Temba. So we have strengthened the resources for Temba Police Station, and her active involvement on the ground also gave us the desired result. Even though for this period, Temba is only up with one count. We are grateful to be reaping the rewards of your hard work, MEC, and we can assure you that those vehicles have enhanced our service delivery, especially to the victims of GBVF. Coming to the trio crimes, which is our most problematic crime category. Crime reported under subcategory aggravated robberies, including the trio crimes, are most prevalent in the province. 4 of the crimes reported under the subcategory registered and increased during the current reporting period. Carjacking increased by 20.4%, truck jacking increased by 18.9%, bank robberies, 2 more counts were recorded, house robberies increased by 2.6%, while cash in transit heist decreased by 29.0%. Kidnapping, one of the topical issues in our country. Kidnapping are most prevalent in all 5 districts in this province, as they all have shown a significant increase. This crime trend is often associated with hijackings, as during the commission of crime, the victims are taken with, deprived of freedom of movement, and dropped off at other places later on. Hijackings are the leading motive for this crime in the province, as we have reported 523 cases of kidnapping during the period, and resulting from the hijackings. The other leading motives related kidnappings are robbery and rape. Contact-related crimes. 2 crimes reported under the category, namely arson and malicious damage to property, both increased by 13.8% and 3.0% respectively. One of the leading motives for these crimes is domestic violence. Honorable Chairperson, I was so concerned when we were analyzing our domestic-related cases. We find that, people, they even resort to arson to burn the property during the domestic violence in their household, of which is of concern that people, they can even be violent to that an extent of setting the premises to fire, or the curtains, or anything within the house. So it is of great concern to all of us. Coming to the property-related crimes, while all property-related crimes decreased by 6.6%, translating to 1,674 less count registered, theft of motor vehicle was the only crime under the category, which increased by 0.7%, translating into 38 counts more. Other serious crime, the last category of the 17 community-reported crime, which is other serious crime category, indicated an increase of 0.5% in comparison with the 2020-21 period under review. Honorable Chairperson, crime depending or resulting of the police action. Honorable members, for the quarter under review, through our continued operation, routine stop and searches, we have managed to take 1,183 unlicensed firearms off the streets. We will continue relentlessly to ensure that we fight the proliferation of unlicensed firearms in our province. The statistics that will be presented here will show that firearms have an impact on the increase on our murder, attempted murder, robbery with aggravating circumstances, as in most of these crimes. Firearms are indicated as an instrument commonly used during the commission of these crimes. We also have some recommendations to make, Honorable Chairperson. Fighting crime requires a multi-sectoral approach that we need to maintain when we plan our operations. Okaimolao Operation Specially continues to yield positive successes due to the resources of multiplicity approach that we have adopted. The operation will continue to offer a platform from various departments and agencies in the province to conduct their duties in a safe and secure environment. So when we come together as a whole of a government approach, we have realized that we achieve more, instead of us having the fragmented approach whereby each one do his or her own operation. So when we enter into one space, each one they ensure that they execute their legislative mandate. Through the multidisciplinary approach, we can achieve a lot, and therefore I propose the following recommendation to the Honorable Chairperson of this House. Expedite talking to other committees. I know that this is not the responsibility of this committee, but I guess it's a social, it's an economic committee, to expedite the finalization of the process to migrate the Shebeen permits to the licensed licenses, to the liquor licenses. We have observed when we do the operations, we find that a lot of people, they're still in possession of the Shebeen permits, of which the intention was that in the long run, this Shebeen permits, it will be migrated to the permanent liquor licenses. Many of the people, they still photocopy this thing, they commit fraud, some they relocate from one area to another, go and operate in an area whereby this permit were not issued for. It creates a problem when we operate. We'll also recommend that a priority should be given to the amendment of the Provincial Liquor Act, and specifically focusing on the treating hours of these liquor outlets. We also request that the committee assist us. We have tried our level best. The MEC tried her level best. She even engaged the previous mayor of Ekurhuleni to intervene in expediting the process of securing suitable accommodation for Kwatema Police Station, Acacia Police Station, and Florida Detective Branch. All those areas, if Chairperson, you can visit those places and see how our members are operating in that kind of accommodation. It is totally not conducive at all. We will appreciate if through your influences, through your interaction with other sectors, including the Department of Public Works, that we are assisted. But the Kwatema, specifically the city of Ekurhuleni, must assist us in that particular space. When I conclude, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, I have to acknowledge contributions towards the fight against crime by our partners, law enforcement agencies that include Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, Tshwane Metropolis Department, the various municipal and traffic police, Gauteng Traffic, Road Traffic Management Corporation. We also have sustained a very good working relationship with Business Against Crime through the ICE and ES project, National Liquor Traders Council, Community Policing Board, through the various levels of community policing forums, Community in Blue Patrollers, and the Youth Desk. My appreciation also goes to the communities of Gauteng for heeding our calls during the festive season to celebrate responsibly. The outcome of the collaboration between the law enforcement and agencies and the communities was a peaceful and eventful crossover to 2022. Together with our partners, we walked the streets of Gauteng day and night in our endeavor to ensure that the inhabitants of this province are and they feel safe. This is the vision vision of the government's National Development Plan 2030, whereby it says that the people living in South Africa must feel safe at home, at school, at work, and they enjoy a community life free of fear. Women walk freely in the streets and children play safely outside. Furthermore, I would also like to appreciate the continued support that we as the SAPS receive from the Gauteng government under the leadership of Premier David Makhura. The Premier has also contributed 45 high-performance vehicles that have been allocated to the Highway Patrol. These were handed over to us during the provincial launch of our annual Safer Festives operation. These vehicles have made a positive difference in the fight against crime. Honorable members, we are slowly acclimatizing to the realities that the honeymoon phase is over and the return to normalcy is imminent as we are preparing for the eventual end to the state of disaster. With the relaxation of the Disaster Management Act regulations, as per the adjusted alert level number 1, we have started seeing a high mobility of people, and with the high mobility of people comes more opportunities for criminals to pounce. They are daring and they are now operating 24/7. The crime picture will change, but we are ready. We are reviewing our operational plans, strengthening our social and private and public stakeholder relations. These partnerships are part of the reasons we are seeing a continuous decrease in the most of our crime categories. Honorable members, we are not yet there. As majority of the people participating in the Victims of Crime Survey by Statistics South Africa 2019-2020 indicated that they do not feel safe, irrespective of the crime stats. Crime stats can go down, but you ask the people, they say, we don't feel safe. Even though perception of safety is considered to be subjective, well-being, we are, however, committed to still ensure that the people living in South Africa feel and have no fear of crime. Honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, I now hand over to Brigadier Mpochakalani to present the comprehensive crime picture of the third quarter of 2021-2022 financial year. I thank you so much for the opportunity. I think you need to come this side.
Thank you, PC, for the overview. We'll request Mpo to, have you submitted them to your presentation to them so that they flight it? All right, thanks. Over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me first start acknowledging my senior, starting with you, the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, honorable members of the committee, MEC members Zeboko, management of the SAPS, media, as well as the stakeholders that are present. Chairperson, I will be taking you through the breakdown of the crime statistic for the period under review, referring to the 1st of October up until December 2021, which is compared with the previous year. As PC has indicated in his speech, he elaborated that we have seen some of the reduction from our crime. However, we are still concerned with other crime that are still on the rise, showing an increase. Let me quickly start with the presentation, Chairperson. We have reverted back to the format that everybody is accustomed to, whereby we are showing a 5-year trend in terms of each category of crime, how it has performed up until the current period. Starting with our contact crime, Chairperson, for period under review, we have a reduction of 4.5%, which translates to a reduction of 2,181 cases less that were recorded by Gauteng. whereby under this category, 4 of the 7 contact crime reported an increase. Of those that reported an increase, of which is of concern to us, is murder. Murder in the last 5 years, we have seen a drastic increase for now by 243 counts, which reflect an increase of 18.3%. Another increase that we have observed under the category is with regard to our attempted murder, where we increased by 5.6%, 74 cases more that we have registered. Still under contact crime, another increase that we have recorded is with regards to our robbery aggravating, an increase of 0.1%, 18 more cases reflected an increase. Those that reduce are assault GBH, common assault, common robbery, as well as sexual offenses. Still under the contact crime, Chairperson, but zooming into the robbery aggravated as well as sexual offenses, those two subcategories are already accounted for under the broader category of contact crime. We just have to show the breakdown of the offenses that are reported under those subcategories. Starting with robbery aggravated, there are 6 offenses that are reported under this category, which is carjacking, truck carjacking, the CIT, bank robberies, house robberies, as well as business robbery. Our carjacking, we unfortunately increased by 478 counts, translating to 20.4% increase. This was the case as well with regards to our truck carjacking, where we increased by 43 counts, 18.9% increase. Fortunately, with regards to our CIT, we have recorded a reduction of 29%. With regards to our bank robbery, Chairperson, we have not reported an increase since 2017-2018 financial year. This current period, we have 2 incidents of bank robberies that were reported by Gauteng, coming from Douglasdale as well as Lenasia. Those are the 2 incidents of bank robberies that we have reported. Moving over to house robberies, we also reported an increase of 2.6%, 51 more counts that we have reported. Lastly, under robbery aggravated subcategory business robbery, we reduced by 4.2%. Trio crime, Chairperson, which is covered by carjacking, house robbery, as well as business robberies, we have reported an increase of 7.7%. This increase was as a result of the increases that we observed under carjacking as well as house robberies. Moving over to sexual offenses, still under contact crime. Fortunately, for this subcategory, we have reported a reduction for all offenses reported under the subcategory, which is rape, reducing by 6.4%, attempted rape, 4.1%, sexual assault, a reduction of 8.9%, contact sexual offenses, a reduction of 28.9%. Next page, Chairperson, moving over to our contact-related crime, which is the next category of our 17 committee reported. Under this category, there are 2 offenses that are reported, which is arson as well as malicious damage to property. We have lost the 2 offenses for this period. With arson, we increased by 13.8%. Malicious damage, we increased by 3%. As a result, we lost the entire category by 3.2% increase that we have reported. PC has touched upon it, where the contributing factors towards these incidents that were reported. Moving over to our property-related crime, overall reduction of the category by 6.6%. However, there's only 1 offense under the category whereby we increased by 0.7%, whereas the other categories we have a reduction, which is burglaries at residential premises, a reduction of 4.1%, burglaries at non-residential premises, a reduction of 7.8%, theft out of motor vehicle, a reduction of 14.5%, stock theft, a reduction of 23.2%. Last category of the 17 committee reported, which is other serious crime, we have reported an increase of 0.5% as a result of increases from our theft general, which is also known as all theft not mentioned everywhere, an increase of 0.1%. Commercial crime also, which remain our problematic crime in the province, which also shown is been on the rise ever since, an increase of 10.6%. Hence, we are having an overall increase of this category due to those 2 offenses reporting an increase. In terms of the overall crime, which are reflected as the 17 committee reported offense for Q3 for Gauteng, we have reduced by 3.1%, whereby 3,463 cases less were reported during the period. Moving over to our crime dependent on police action for detection, Chairperson, ideally for this category would have want to see a reduction, an increase, as opposed to the 17 committee reported where we want to see a reduction. We unfortunately had an increase and a reduction for this category of 15.8% as a result of truck-related crime, driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs, as well as sexual offenses detected as a result of police action having a reduction. Only illegal possession of firearm and ammunition, whereby we have reported an increase of 3.9%. Chairperson, the purpose of this slide is to show overall where Gauteng stands in relation to other provinces. Data source, we normally obtain it from Stats SA. They normally tailor-made data according to the series that we will be releasing during that particular period. So, according to this information, although there was a slight reduction of population during this period, Gauteng still remained the most crowded province when we compare to other provinces. The reason for this slide, Chairperson, is because when we calculate or compute our crime rate, we use this population estimate. Reason being that this is where we ensure fairness across all the provinces, whereby we zoom into 100,000 population to see whether the likelihood of each crime, where the victims, how many victims will be out of 100,000 population. Next slide. When we do the computation of the crime rate, we normally focus on the contact crime, offenses being murder, attempted murder, assault GBH, common assault, total common robbery, as well as sexual offenses. This is whereby the victims is a person. Hence, we are doing the ratio to determine out of this 100,000 population, how many people are likely to be the victims or being affected by the crime. So when we look at the crime rate, the ratios for all the 6 offenses that I have mentioned, murder and attempted murder, those are the 2 offenses whereby the ratio for the current period is slightly higher compared to the previous period when you look at the 100,000 population. For current period under review, murder, we have 10.3 of murders out of 100,000 population. In relation to our attempted murder is 9.2 per 100,000 population. Assault GBH is 70.8 per 100,000 population. Common assault 86 per 100,000 population. Common robbery 23.8 per 100,000 population. Sexual offenses is 19.9 per 100 population. Next slide, please. Then this slide, Chairperson, we also kept it. It was already released by National when they released last week. It's only zooming into the murder rate in relation to all other provinces. PC in his speech already mentioned that when you look at Gauteng, it's amongst those provinces whereby year in, year out, in terms of murders that are recorded per period, they show the highest number. The second province after KZN, whereby the murders are mostly high. However, when we look at this scenario, zooming into the crime ratio, looking at Gauteng where we stand, Gauteng, we are far lesser than the other 3 provinces, which is Eastern Cape, Western Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, whereby out of 100,000 population, the likelihood of people being murdered. With Eastern Cape is 18.7, Western Cape is 15.1, KwaZulu-Natal is 14.2, and Gauteng we are standing at 10.3, and the rest of other provinces follows after Gauteng. Next slide, please. Chairperson, looking at our overall crime category, 17 community reported crime, Gauteng performance in relation to our other provinces, We have reduced our the overall category of 17 committee reported crime for period under review by 3.1%. When you look in terms of the actual values, the counts, we are the highest province in terms of the reduction, the number of counts that we reduce. We reduced by 3,463 counts. The contribution that we are making to the overall figure of the national, as PC indicated, is for this quarter is 27.7%, of which is the figure that we have observed since the beginning of this financial year for quarter 1 and quarter 2, which ranging on averagely around 27%. Meaning that there's still some work. We are not contributing 50% as the narrative is out there that Gauteng is contributing 50% of crime in South Africa. We are contributing actually around 27%. Next slide, please. Now looking at the 3 months which is making up the quarter, which is October, November, December, in relation to our 7 committee reported offense. We have recorded reduction for all these 3 months. From October, we reduced by 687, November 823 counts less that we reported. We have seen a noticeable reduction in December of 1,953 counts less that we have reduced. Looking at the district, the 5 districts in the province, unfortunately, only 1 district have recorded overall crime increase, referring to the 17 committee reported crime, which is West Rand. It has increased by 5.8%, an indication an increase of 435 counts. The other 4 districts have reported the reduction. The highest in terms of the actual counts is Ekurhuleni, reducing by 1,332. The second, which is following in terms of the counts, is Johannesburg by 1,270, Tshwane 1,168, and Sedibeng 194 counts less that they have recorded. Next slide, please. Our top 40 for quarter 3, Chairperson, I have to indicate that this station, they change it every quarter when we release. Although they remain the same, we find out they shift the position around, mainly because of, it depends on what they have recorded during the quarter. For instance, Honeydew for this quarter, they are appearing to be the first in the province in terms of the 17 committee reported crime, because they have recorded a total of 2,173 count during this period, which reflected an increase of 8.7%. Although they have reported the reduction, they still found themselves in this top 40 list because of the volumes. It is followed by Johannesburg Central, although Johannesburg Central have reported an increase. Those 2 stations, normally they are alternating the position 1 and 2 in the province, and they normally also alternate in 2 or 3 in the national list. The other station, Chairperson, that are also featuring in the national list of the top 30 of 17 committee reported crime are those top 13 stations which are highlighted in yellow. The stations are Honeydew, Johannesburg Central, Temba, Randfontein, Alexandra, Tembisa, Acacia, Pretoria Central, Brooklyn, Midrand, Rutherford, Kagiso, as well as Hillbrow. Those are the 13 stations that are also featuring in the national list. Chairperson, of those top 40, of our top 40, 26 stations recorded the reduction and 14 stations indicated an increase. And of those that reported an increase, Kagiso was the highest with 242 counts higher. Those that reported the reduction, Sunnyside was the highest in terms of the reduction with 273 counts lower. Next page. These are the remainder of the top 40 for quarter 3, of which in the position 40 is Pretoria West, which also had a reduction of 4%. Chairperson, for this quarter, this top 40 contributed 48.9%. We have seen this number reducing over the year. Just for the last quarter, this quarter 2, they have contributed 49.5 overall crime in Gauteng. So we have seen just a noticeable reduction there, because currently they are contributing 48.9% of overall crime in Gauteng. Next slide, please. Now moving over to our contact crime. As well, during the month, October, November, December, we have reported a reduction for contact crime as a category. In October, 413, November, 355, December, 1,413. Zooming into the district, the West End was the only district that reported an increase in relation to their contact crime by 1.8%, which is equivalent to 61 counts more. The other 4 districts have reported a reduction, the highest being Johannesburg in terms of the counts by 1,070. It was followed by Ekurhuleni by 640. The others have also reported a reduction. Next slide, please. In terms of our top 40 for our contact crime, Johannesburg Central there is topping all the other stations by recording 1,079 cases of contact crime, which reflected an increase of 5.6%, whereby 57 counts more were reported. It was followed by Alexandra, reported 985, an increase as well of 12.2%. In the third position was Temba, although it has reduced by 2.5%. Chairperson of this top 40 station of a contact crime, the top 14 of those are also featuring in the national list. Just to mention, from the 4th position, as I mentioned, the 3rd position is Tembisa, Kagiso, Hillbrow, Mamelodi East, Hanejo, JP, Ivory Park, Randfontein, Deep Slot, Eldorado Park, as well as Acacia. Chairperson of those top 40 stations, 24 stations reported a reduction. Roodepoort was the only station that stabilized this category, meaning what they have reported currently, the counts are more the same as what they have reported during the previous period. In terms of those increase, there was 15 stations indicated an increase. The highest increase was recorded by Alexandra with 107 counts more, and those reported a reduction. Hillbrow was the highest in terms of the reduction by 249 counts less that they have reported. Next slide, please. These are the remainder of our top 40 for contact crime. In the 40th position is Olivenholt-Bosch, reducing by 14.2%. Chairperson, all these stations are contributing 51.6% of our total figure for contact crime during Q3 of the financial year. Next slide, please. Now we're still under contact crime, but we're looking at the crimes that are affecting women and children. Here, we're only looking at murder, attempted murder, as well as assault GBH. Chairperson, you recall that we said we reported 1,570 counts of murder. This is the number of people that were killed in Gauteng during the period. Of this 1,570, 189 were women, and 37 of those were children. With women, we have increased by 30.3%, meaning currently it was 189 women that were killed as compared to 145 from previous period. With regards to children, currently it's 37 children that were killed, that were murdered, when you compared with 49 from the previous period, which translates to a reduction of 24.5%. Looking at the other 2 offenses, which are attempted murder, assault, and assault GBH. Those, in terms of attempted murder, in the relation to the victims, 345 were women, which reflected an increase of women who were involved in the attempted murder offense, an increase of 91 counts in terms of the increases. With regards to the children, it was 41, an increase of 8 counts. Those women that were the victims of the assault GBH increased by 129, which reflected that 3,638 women were the victims of assault GBH. In terms of the children, a reduction of 16 counts, meaning that 328 children were the victims of crime, assault GBH. These cover both boys and girl child from the age of 0 to 17. Next slide, please. Moving over to our domestic violence-related cases, Chairperson. In Gauteng, when you look at the 3-month period, which is October, November, December, December was the month whereby most of the offenses that are linked to domestic violence were recorded in Gauteng. We're looking at the overall total that were recorded for quarter. It was 9,292 cases that were linked to domestic violence that were reported, of which from this 9,292, the highest proportion was coming from Johannesburg because it was contributing 41% of these cases that were reported. It is followed by Ekurhuleni by 23%, Tshwane 21%, Western 10%, and 5% from Sedibeng contributing to this total of 9,292 counts. Next slide, please. Now looking at the selected crime whereby they were as a result of domestic related, which is attempted murder, rape, sexual assault, GBH, common assault, robbery with aggravated circumstances, common robbery, arson, malicious damage to property, all theft not mentioned elsewhere, as well as burglaries at residential premises. I will have a zoom in into the top 3 crime whereby domestic violence played a role in the province. Looking at the first one, it was common assault. Of all cases of common assault that were reported in the province during the quarter, 5,021 cases of those were linked to domestic violence, of which the majority of the victims were female with 4,189 and male 832. And the contributing district there, it was Johannesburg there with 2,024, followed by Tshwane, 1,163. The second most offenses whereby domestic violence always played a role is assault with intent to inflict grievous bodily harm, whereby out of this total of assault GBH, 1,938 cases of those were linked to domestic violence. Still with this one, the majority of victims were female with 1,335, male 603. Still with this one as well, Johannesburg is still taking the lead in terms of the contributors in the province by 803, followed by Ekurhuleni 482. The third most offense, which are also contributors of our domestic violence, is malicious damage to property. Out of all cases of malicious damage to property that were reported in the province, 1,653 of those were as a result of domestic violence, whereby the females still being the victims of the majority of the victim by 1,070, male 583. Still with this one, Johannesburg is still taking the lead, followed by Ekurhuleni. Just to mention other serious crime, chairperson, whereby domestic violence played a role. In terms of attempted murder, of all the cases of attempted murder that we have recorded, 40 of those were the results of domestic violence. Murder, in relation to murder, of all the 1,570 cases of murder that were reported, 41 of those were the results of murder, whereby still with this one, female were the majority of victims. Rape, 133 of those were as a result of murder. Next slide, please. Looking at the breakdown of our murder, for 3 months making up the quarter, October, November, December, we have seen increases in these 3 months. October we increased by 79, November 67, December 97. The district there reflecting an increase is 4 of them, is with the exception of Tshwane, whereby they reduced by 4 counts, 1.8% reduction. Of those districts that reported an increase, the highest in terms of the counts there was Ekurhuleni, was Johannesburg with 84 counts, followed by Ekurhuleni, 76 counts more were recorded for murder. Sedibeng, 46 counts more were recorded. Western, an increase of 41 counts. Next slide, please. In terms of the contribution, the motive behind our murder in the province, argument, misunderstanding not related to domestic violence, still remaining our concern in terms of they are contributing largely towards our murder in the province. These are all the things that are mainly coming from the social behavior. From the sample that we took, which is 80% of the murder that we reported, meaning out of 1,570, we sample 1,280, which make 80% of the population, which is mostly likely to be representing the entire population. So from this sample, It's 112 that we have determined that argument contributed to our murder in the province. The second most contributor to our murder in the province from the sample is robbery, from the house robbery, business robbery, as well as other robberies, with 50 cases. The third most contributors of our murder in the province is vigilantism, with 29 cases. Chairperson, as PCF indicated, I also have to indicate that in addition to these causative factors, but not necessarily being the causative, but the phenomena which is mostly we are experiencing in the province is other cases whereby there is police killings. Alone in this quarter, there were 5 police officers that were murdered, of which 2 were on duty and 3 were off duty. The other contributing factor whereby PC has already alluded to is the problem where we are experiencing the multiple murder. When you look at this quarter alone, out of these 18 dockets that were registered in Gauteng, resulted in 50 victims being killed. When you do the breakdown of this, in 11 dockets, it registered 2 victims each. In 4 dockets, it registered 3 victims each that were murdered. 1 docket, it was 4 victims. 1 docket as well, it was 5 victims, where this is the case whereby in Lodium, and 1 docket whereby it was 7 victims in 1 incident. This was Kagiso incident. As a result, we're ending up this rising number of count that we're accumulating over the period. Lastly, in terms of the farming community, the killings there were 3 incidents of farm murders that were reported. 2 of those victims were residents on the farm and small holding, and 1 was a farm worker. Next slide, please. When we look at the place of occurrence where these murders are likely to occur in the province, the commonly place where these murders are occurring in the province, according to the analysis that we did from the sample size, is the public place, which you are referring to the street, open field, recreation center, park, as well as the abutment building, with the total number of 564. The second most place where these incidents are likely to occur is the residence of the perpetrator or the victim, with a total number of 309 from the sample that we did. The third most is the liquor outlets, referring to the shebins, taverns, pub, nightclub, and bottle store, with 7. The business premises also played a role there, with 59 counts, small and agricultural land, farm plot, and small holding, with 13. Mode of transport, 8. Bus stop and rank, 6. Government premises is 6 as well. When you look at our top 40, next slide please, of our murder during the period, the first contributing station there, which is ranking number 1 in the province and number 6 in the national list, is Kagiso. Kagiso, for quarter 3, 51 people were killed, which reflected an increase of 18 counts. It is followed by Alexandra, which is 2 province and 8 in the 8th position nationally. 48 people were killed in Alexandra, reflecting an increase of 23 more counts. The other station chairperson, which also featured in the national list of murder, is Johannesburg Central, Atteridgeville, Orange Farm, Tembisa, Ivory Park, as well as GP. Those are the stations that are featuring in the national list of the top 30 for murder. Chairperson of those stations from the top 40, only 5 stations recorded the reduction, and 35 stations indicated an increase. And of those stations that reported an increase for quarter 3, is Alexandra with the highest counts of 23. And those that reported the reduction was El Dorado Park with 13 counts lower that they have registered. Next slide. These are the remainder of our top 40 for murder. In the 40th position is Orlando with an increase of 45.5. Chairperson, this top 40 station for murder, alone they contribute 63.3% of overall murder figure in the province for quarter 3. Moving over to our trio crime. Next slide. The trio crime as well for this one, as PC indicated, this remain our problematic category of crime. As we have seen in the 3 months that making the quarter, we have reported an increase. In October, we increased by 256, November 6 cases more, December 197. Looking at the district, unfortunately, all the districts have reported an increase for the trio crime. The highest being Johannesburg with 173 counts, followed by Tshwane 155, Western 98, Citibank 30, 5 cases reported by Ekurhuleni more. Moving over to our top 40 of the trio crime. Next slide, please. Chairperson, this top 40 station, there are a few stations that are also featuring in the national list of the trio. Because this type of crime is predominantly in Gauteng province. You find out in the national list, 60% of the list, the station are alone from Gauteng. The station that are highlighted there, the 18th station, which is Tembisa, Ivory Park, Johannesburg Central, Acacia, Orange Farm, Honeydew, Boisens, Mamelodi East, JP, Randfontein, Silverton, Pretoria West, Kagiso, Alexandra, Mondial, Loate, Moffat View, as well as Oliven Hosbol. All those 18 stations are forming part of the national list as well as the provincial list, of which in the provincial list, Tembisa is leading as well as Ivory Park, occupying position 1 and 2. Chairperson, of those stations that reported the reduction, 12 stations reported the reduction and 28 stations indicated an increase. And of those that reported an increase, Johannesburg Central was highest with 45 counts, Midrand 30 counts less in terms of those that reported a reduction. Next slide, please. These are the remainder of our top 40 for trio crime, of which in the last position of 40th position is Krugersdorp. However, they have reduced by 1.6 because of the volume reporting 60 counts in the third quarter. They found themselves in this top 40 station. This station alone contributes for 51.6% of overall figure of trio crime in Gauteng for third quarter. Next slide, please. Carjacking. This is our problematic crime, Chairperson. In the 3 months of the quarter, we have reported an increase in October 224, November increasing by 70 counts, December 184 counts. Unfortunately, still with the district, all 5 of them have reported an increase, highest being Johannesburg by 156 counts more, followed by Ekurhuleni 115, Tshwane 104, Western 89, Citibank lastly with 16 counts more. Next slide, please. With this one, Chairperson, majority of the station making up the national list, 77% of those are alone from Gauteng, with a total of 23 stations. The station are Orange Farms, Tembisa, Alexandra, Mamelodi East, Sandringham, Johannesburg Central, Ivory Park, Boisens, Moroka, Acacia, Loate, Pretoria West, Bondio, Enadale, Silverton, Kagiso, JP, Tsakane, Rabbi Ridge, Randfontein, Mabopane, as well as Vosloorus. Next slide, please. The station alone are contributing 59.4% of overall figure of Kajiki in the province for period under review. Next slide, please. Robberies at residential premises. In the 3 months of the quarter, it was only during the month of November where we have reported the reduction for this particular crime by 18 counts, whereas in October, 51 more counts were reported, December, 18 more counts were reported. Looking at the District Tshwane was the only one reducing by 17 counts, whereas the other 4 districts have reported an increase, with the highest increase reported by Western by 28 counts, followed by Johannesburg 20 counts, Citibank 13, Ekurhuleni lastly with 7 counts. Next slide, please. In terms of the top 40 of our robbery at residential premises, the top 11 stations from our top 40 are also forming part of our national list. However, even these top 5, although they found themselves in the top 40 due to the volumes in terms of the number of counts that were recorded during the period, they found themselves in the top list, which is Honeydew, Ivory Park, Acacia, Tembisa, Sandton. The other stations from the national list are Diepsloot, Linden, Randfontein, Kagiso, Boisen, as well as Dobsonville. Chairperson, this station 14 stations reported the reduction. Wildebrecht was only station which was able to stabilize this particular crime. 25 stations indicated an increase. Looking at those that reported an increase, Randfontein was highest with 29 counts. Those that reported the